Namaskar, thank you for joining us, and sorry we are a little late. Well, today is the 72nd anniversary of the Constituent Assembly adopting the final draft of the Constitution of India in 1949. It came into effect on the 26th of January in 1950. We'll be focusing on the crucial role that the constitutional framework has played in nation building. We'll also be analyzing the context of the EAM Shankar's statement on international connectivity projects needing to be consultative, transparent and participatory, and also having to respect sovereignty and territorial integrity. That's a comment that's directed at China's Belt and Road Initiative indirectly. My name is Mark Lin. Let's begin with the headlines. The nation celebrates Constitution Day to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India in 1949. The President, Vice President, Prime Minister and Lok Sabha Speaker attend the Constitution Day celebrations in Parliament. The Prime Minister addresses the function, expresses concern over family-based politics and democracy. Prime Minister attends Constitution Day celebrations organized by the Supreme Court and says the Constitution is the biggest strength and inspiration for the country. He says there is a need to remove colonial mindset that creates a hurdle in development journey of developing nations. The 13th anniversary of the Mumbai terror attack is observed across the country. President, Prime Minister, Home Minister, External Affairs Minister, they expressed their firm solidarity with the families of the victims. On the 13th anniversary of the 2611, the MEA summons diplomat from the High Commission of Pakistan and reiterates India's call for expeditious trial of the Mumbai terror attacks case, and also calls on Pakistan to abide by its commitment to not allow terrorists under its control for terrorism against India, territories under its control. Russian President Vladimir Putin to pay an official visit to New Delhi on the 6th of December 2021 for the 21st India-Russia Annual Summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The first meeting of the 2+2 dialogue between India and Russia to be held on the 6th of December 2021, New Delhi. External Affairs Minister chairs the 18th RIC Foreign Ministers meeting, reiterates India's call for reform multilateralism, also says RIC countries should coordinate respective approaches on the threat of terrorism, radicalization. India supports the release of political detainees and the cessation of violence in Myanmar. The UK bans flights from South Africa region after a new COVID variant is identified. The EU seeks to stop air travel from South Africa over the COVID variant. The Czech government announces a 30-day COVID state of emergency. Civil Aviation Ministry says there will be a calibrated response, a resumption of operations from countries considered at risk. In Russia, a gas leak in a coal mine in Kemerovo in Siberia kills 51 people. The deceased include 6 rescuers, 3 other people arrested in connection with the gas leak. Our top story. November 26 is observed as Constitution Day. On this day in 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India formally adopted the Constitution of India, which came into effect on January 26, 1950. It was the Modi government that took the decision to remember this day as Constitution Day in 2015. The year coincided with the 125th birth anniversary celebrations of the chief architect of the Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Here's a report.
Constitution Day is celebrated every year on the 26th of November to commemorate the adoption of the Indian Constitution in 1949. The 72nd Constitution Day was celebrated across the country on Friday. President Rajnath, accompanied by Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, ministers, MPs and other dignitaries marked the occasion with a commemoration in the Central Hall of Parliament. The President led the parliamentarians in reading the preamble of the Constitution.
हम भारत के लोग
President Covet described Parliament as the temple of democracy and said that in the last 7 decades, the people of India have written a wonderful saga of democratic development that has astonished the world.
संसद में प्रतिस्पर्धा को प्रतिद्वंद्विता नहीं समझा जाना चाहिए। हम सब लोग ये मानते हैं कि हमारी संसद लोकतंत्र का मंदिर है। अतः हर सांसद की ये जिम्मेदारी बन जाती है कि वे लोकतंत्र के इस मंदिर में श्रद्धा की उसी भावना के साथ आचरण करें जिसके साथ वे अपने पूजा गृहों और इबादत गाहों में भी करते हैं।
Vice President Venkaiah Naidu recalled the immense role played by the Constituent Assembly and its leaders and said that their mandate should be respected.
And in a democracy, what is important is tolerance towards the mandate of the people. I underline tolerance towards the mandate of the people. This should be guiding principle.
Prime Minister Modi recalled the single-minded determination of the framers of the Constitution towards nation building. He said that had the Constitution been written in the present times, it would have been a difficult task because many political parties make their self-interest paramount and don't place national interest as a foremost priority. The PM expressed concern over the politics of dynasty, adding that it is a matter of concern for democracy.
आज देश में कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी, हिंदुस्तान के हर कोने में जाइए, भारत एक ऐसे संकट की तरफ बढ़ रहा है जो संविधान को समर्पित लोगों के लिए चिंता का विषय है, लोकतंत्र के प्रति आस्था रखने वालों के लिए चिंता का विषय है, और वो है पारिवारिक पार्टियां। राजनीतिक दल पार्टी फॉर द फैमिली, पार्टी बाय द फैमिली, अब आगे कहने की जरूरत मुझे नहीं लगती है। जो पार्टी पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी एक ही परिवार चलाता रहे, पार्टी की सारी व्यवस्था परिवारों के पास रहे, वो लोकतंत्र, स्वस्थ लोकतंत्र के लिए सबसे बड़ा संकट होता है।
Prime Minister Modi laid great emphasis on duties than on rights. He questioned how political parties, which are no longer democratic in nature, can protect the country's democracy.
राजनीतिक दलों का अपना एक अहम महत्व है और राजनीतिक दल भी हमारी संविधान की भावनाओं को जन जन तक पहुंचाने का प्रमुख माध्यम है। लेकिन संविधान की भावना को भी चोट पहुंची है। संविधान के एक एक धारा को भी चोट पहुंची है जब राजनीतिक दल अपने आप में अपना लोकतांत्रिक कैरेक्टर खो देते हैं। जो दल स्वयं लोकतांत्रिक कैरेक्टर खो चुके हो, वो लोकतंत्र की रक्षा कैसे कर सकते हैं?
The Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs has created digital platforms to enhance public interest in the Constitution. One platform provides a digital copy of the preamble of the Constitution in 22 languages as well as in English. The other has online quizzes on constitutional democracy. Anyone can participate in these quizzes and earn themselves a certificate. The President launched the online quiz on constitutional democracy. The digital copy of the debates in the Constituent Assembly, original Constitution copy, and a digital version of the latest Constitution with all necessary amendments were also released. The Constitution was formally adopted on the 26th of January 1949 and came into force on the 26th of January 1950. The Modi government took the decision to celebrate Constitution Day in 2015, thus giving due importance to this date. With inputs from Sudhakar Das, Bureau Report, DD India.
So So that brings us to In Focus tonight, and In Focus is this: Constitution, Framework for Democratic Nation Building. We are joined to discuss this by two eminent guests. Let me introduce you to them. Snehalata Srivastava is former Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, and Pinky Anand, former Additional Solicitor General and Senior Advocate, Supreme Court. Ms. Anand, thank you, ladies. Ms. Anand, I understand you're pressed for time, so let me start with you. Ambedkar had said that a nation which is not used to democracy requires a culture of democracy to take root. So would you think that the Constitution has achieved this purpose of, building that culture of democracy, making it take root?
I think we couldn't have had a better interpretation of the Constitution or of culture building, which the Constitution has served for. In fact, Dr. Ambedkar made several very enlightening statements, and if you look across the surface, you'll find one of his primary objects was not only in respect of democracy, but also social and economic democracy. I think that was one of Dr. Ambedkar's primary emphasis across the length and breadth of some of his discussions. Let me just quote to you one of the statements made by Dr. Ambedkar. Politics of democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of this social democracy. What does social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity as the principles of life. So ultimately, the culture of the Constitution is socio-economic justice, which is built within liberty, equality, and fraternity, which is what the preamble of our Constitution lays down, which is the way we've adopted the Constitution, and which is the way the Constitution has sought to be implemented, interpreted, and enforced as such throughout the length and breadth of this country. I think the roots of the entire discussion is something which is outstanding and which has lasted through the impact of time with further and further progression and making milestone histories.
Would you think, Ms. Pinky Anand, once again, that there's adequate space for political parties to express themselves politically through the Constitution, because after all, it's a document, as you said, for democracy, and political parties are fundamental and they are the basis of democracy?
No, I think the political parties and the functioning of a political democracy, firstly, we are proud of being a democratic republic. Yeah. I think that's something that the Constitution has guaranteed us, and we have sustained ourselves as a very mature democracy, having sustained almost several decades of working on the Constitution. 72 years have passed by since the Constitution was adopted, and we have been able to achieve political democracy for the reason you have every aspiration of every person which is expressed through the parliamentarians,
right,
which comes forth, which expresses the will of the public. And I think there's no better framework than that for a democracy in any event, and democratic working in a country such as India has proved to be a greater success. Even our electoral exercise, the process that we carry in this country, the way people express their will through their election process is something which is a mind-boggling task as far as the world is concerned.
Ms. Srivastava, so the test of the Constitution is that it has lasted, it has longevity. The fact is that it is both, rigid, and it's not either rigid nor flexible. It has that sort of a nature. But what would you think? I mean, the functioning of Parliament, since you were the Lok Sabha Secretary General, it seems to be to some extent declining. The purposes, the high purposes with which the Constitution had in mind. There's too much disruption. How do you think, is this, an impediment to the constitutional nature of our country?
In Lok Sabha, there are lots of in 16th Lok Sabha and in 17th Lok Sabha also. There are on many occasions when there is a disruption. Helps the quality of discussion, rather no discussion at all, and bills are passed in that is as per the mandate.
Ms. Srivastava, there seems to be a connectivity issue. Perhaps, if you can reconnect, or perhaps, there seems to be your frame is freezing and we can't hear you too well. So, I will move once again to Ms. Anand about that with regard to, the nature of the Constitution. We know that things have changed over the last 70 years. We've seen that, for instance, right to property was a fundamental right, then it became a legal right. We saw that directive principles of state policy started becoming more important when certain governance issues came to the fore. So there's enough in the Constitution to make our country grow democratically with governance as a model of democracy, with both an opposition and and a government in power.
No, you're right. Ultimately, the Constitution is one of the most, as you mentioned in the first part, is a rigid, at the same time a very flexible document. Can't say rigid, actually, it's more flexible. So the whole interpretation of the Constitution, what we have done, what the Parliament has done with the Constitution, what the courts have done as far as the Constitution is concerned, is to interpret it in a very progressive way and to ensure that the dynamics of the Constitution, which is basically our Bible or Gita or whatever we call it, our highest landmark as far as we are concerned. We follow the Constitution. We are constitutional lawyers. We are constitutional people. We are constitutional citizens. There is flexibility in the Constitution while laying down one of the longest constitutions in the world.
Yes.
But nonetheless, you have provision for interpreting it in a progressive manner. And for example, what the Honorable Prime Minister also mentioned, constitutional morality is something which is used to go beyond the real text of, let's say, even culture, of public morality, and to extend across basically into the integrity, security, sovereignty of the country and the democratic process. So I think there's a lot of reinforcement, and what we have seen is progressively the Constitution has permitted, allowed, in fact nurtured changes in the system, changes in society, which have been welcomed by virtue of the interpretations done by the Supreme Court from time to time, and also aided the process of new laws in process, particularly, let's say, gender issues. You've seen the way Supreme Court has, whether it's the armed forces, ensured gender equality, in fact, affirmed a positive affirmative action in more ways than one.
Right. Ms. Srivastava, you're with us once again. So could you comment a little bit about that question I asked you with regard to the functioning of Parliament, and whether it is it's a sign of concern, because one of the basic functions is the legislature. I mean, it's a big wing of the government. I mean, of the Constitution in that sense, and it's not functioning according to perhaps the will of the people.
Basically, this concern has been raised in the last session of Rajya Sabha also, and a committee is looking into the measures which can be taken to, having a more cordial manner discussion, and basically, complying with the directions and rules of the Parliament, and discussing very seriously about the issues, because the Parliament is there to discuss things, to draw the attention of lawmakers themselves and every party to trade analysis and giving the voice of people in the House.
Okay, we'll leave it there. That's all the time we have for this discussion. Thank you very much, Ms. Snehalata Srivastava and Pinky Anand, for joining us. There was a lot of other issues to discuss, like judicial activism and all that, but we'll leave that for another day. Thank you very much for being with us. Moving on then, at a function organized by the Supreme Court of India, Prime Minister hit out at those who still preserve a colonial mindset. The Prime Minister said that such a mindset is creating obstacles in the path of development. Let's take a look at this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the two-day Constitution Day celebrations organized by the Supreme Court in Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. Addressing the distinguished gathering, Prime Minister highlighted various aspects of the Constitution, launching a hard-hitting attack on people with a colonial mindset. Prime Minister said that such a mindset is creating obstacles in the path of development for developing nations. The Prime Minister said that the colonial mindset is a big obstacle in strengthening the determination created during the freedom movement.
ऐसे भारत पर पर्यावरण के नाम पर भांति-भांति के दबाव बनाए जाते हैं। यह सब उपनिवेशवाद मानसिकता का ही परिणाम है। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य यह है कि हमारे देश में भी ऐसी ही मानसिकता के चलते अपने ही देश के विकास में रोड़े अटकाए जाते हैं, कभी फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन के नाम पर तो कभी किसी और चीज का सहारा लेकर। हमारे देश की परिस्थितियां, हमारे युवाओं की आकांक्षाएं, सपनों को बिना जाने समझे बहुत सी बार दूसरे देशों के बेंचमार्क पर भारत को तोड़ने का प्रयास होता है और इसकी आड़ में विकास के रास्ते बंद करने की कोशिश होती है।
The Prime Minister also regretted over the facts that obstacles are put in the development journey of our country too. The Prime Minister said that the work done with a good intention brings good results. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that government makes no distinction when it comes to development.
कोई सरकार एक आध राज्य के लिए कुछ कर ले, कुछ राज्य की भलाई का कोई काम कर दे तो भी वाहवाही हो जाती है, लेकिन जब सरकार सबके लिए करती है, हर नागरिक के लिए करती है, हर राज्य के लिए करती है, तो उसे उतना महत्व नहीं दिया जाता जिसका कभी-कभी उसका जिक्र तक नहीं होता है। सरकार की योजनाओं से कैसे हर वर्ग का, हर राज्य का समान रूप से भला हो रहा है, इस पर उतना ध्यान नहीं दिया जाता है।
Chief Justice N.V. Ramana described accountability as an integral part of the legislature and the executive.
Then there are attacks on the judiciary in the media, particularly social media. These attacks appear to be sponsored and synchronized. The law enforcing agency, particularly central agencies, need to deal with such malicious attacks effectively.
The Constitution Day, also known as the Samvidhan Divas, is celebrated on the 26th of November every year to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India. On the 26th of November 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India and it came into force on 26th of January 1950. With inputs from Arun Sharma and Vikas Sarthi, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Russian President Vladimir Putin will pay an official visit to Delhi on the 6th of December 2021 for the 21st India-Russia Annual Summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The leaders will review the state and prospects of bilateral relations and discuss ways to further strengthen the strategic partnership between the two countries. The summit will also afford an opportunity to exchange views on regional, multilateral and international issues of mutual interest.
The President of the Russian Federation, His Excellency Mr. Vladimir Putin, will pay an official visit to New Delhi on 6th December 2021 for the 21st India-Russia Annual Summit with Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. The last India-Russia Annual Summit was held in September 2019 during the visit of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi to Vladivostok in Russia. The leaders will review the state and prospects of bilateral relations and discuss ways to further strengthen the strategic partnership between our two countries. The summit will afford an opportunity to exchange views on regional, multilateral and international issues of mutual interest.
The first meeting of the 2+2 dialogue between India and Russia at the level of foreign and defense ministers will be held on the 6th of December in New Delhi. The Raksha Mantri, Rajnath Singh, and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar will represent the Indian side. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov and the Defense Minister Sergey Shong will be visiting Delhi on the 5th and the 6th of December for this dialogue, the 2+2 dialogue.
The first meeting of the 2+2 dialogue between India and the Russian Federation at the level of foreign and defense ministers will be held in New Delhi on 6th December this year. Honorable Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh and Honorable External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar will represent the Indian side in the dialogue. Russian Foreign Minister His Excellency Mr. Sergey Lavrov and the Russian Defense Minister His Excellency Mr. Sergey Shoigu will be visiting New Delhi on 5th and 6th of December for this 2+2 dialogue. The agenda for the dialogue will cover political and defense issues of mutual interest. The establishment of this new mechanism of a 2+2 dialogue is expected to further strengthen the strategic partnership between our two countries.
The 26th of November 2021 marks the 13th anniversary of the horrific terror attacks on Mumbai that shook the entire world. The country remembers the brave soldiers who put an end to this attack in the face of tremendous adversity, the martyrs who made the supreme sacrifice in fighting the terrorists, the first responders who saved many lives, the over 150 victims, innocent victims who were killed by the spray of Pakistani terrorist bullets in the heart of India's financial capital. Let's look at this report.
Year 2008, date November the 26th, time around 9 p.m. Location Mumbai, the financial capital of the country. A terrorist attack struck the financial capital that shook Mumbai and the whole country. An attack that stunned the entire world. On 26th of November 2008, 10 terrorists of Lashkar-e-Taiba unleashed attacks in India's financial capital. Mumbai became hostage approximately for 60 hours. More than 100 people were killed in the attack, and the attacks left a large number of people injured. On Friday, on the occasion of the 13th anniversary of Mumbai terror attacks, the country remembered the brave sons of Mother India, the martyrs, and all others who lost their lives in the Mumbai terrorist attack. Paying tribute to the martyrs of 26/11, President Rajnath tweeted, "My heartfelt tributes to the martyrs and homage to the victims of the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. The nation will always be grateful for the bravery and sacrifice of the security forces who laid down their lives in the line of duty." Remembering the sacrifice of the martyrs, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also paid heartfelt tributes.
अनेक हमारे वीर जवानों ने उन आतंकवादियों से लोहा लेते लेते अपने आप को समर्पित कर दिया, सर्वोच्च बलिदान दिया। मैं आज 26/11 को उन सभी बलिदानियों को भी आदरपूर्वक नमन करता हूं।
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar also tweeted, saying that he can never forget the Mumbai attack. Tributes were paid in Mumbai as well on Friday to the security personnel who were martyred. Maharashtra's Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari paid tribute to the martyrs along with State Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar, Home Minister Dilip Walse Patil, and Director General of Police Sanjay Pandey. The Governor also met the families of the victims. Even though 13 years have passed since the attack took place, but wounds of the families of the martyrs are still afresh. 9 attackers were eliminated, whereas 1 was arrested live, whose name was Ajmal Kasab. After a long legal battle, Kasab was finally hung till death on 21st of November 2012. However, the mastermind of the attack is still taking refuge in Pakistan. Even after submitting all evidences, Pakistan has not yet taken any action against the masterminds of 9/11 terror attacks, although India has demanded a fair trial from Pakistan in this matter.
आज एक सीनियर डिप्लोमेट को पाकिस्तानी दूतावास से बुलाया भी था और उनको एक नोट वर्बाल दिया गया है जिसमें दोहराया गया है कि हम चाहते हैं कि उनका जो ट्रायल हो वो शीघ्रता से हो मुंबई टेरर अटैक केस में, और पाकिस्तान की सरकार जो अपने कमिटमेंट है कि वो टेररिज्म ना करे। हमारी अपेक्षा तो यही है कि हमारे और ये पूरे विश्व का जो हमारा डिमांड है कि ये जस्टिस रहे उनके लिए, इस पे पाकिस्तानी सरकार ठोस कदम ले।
The investigation into the Mumbai terror attack further revealed that the terrorists entered Mumbai via sea route from Karachi and divided themselves in 4 different groups. First, they opened fire at Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji terminal and after this targeted Leopold Cafe in South Mumbai. Along with this, the terrorists also targeted Mumbai's Taj Hotel, Oberoi Trident Hotel and Nariman House, in which many lost their lives and sustained injuries. Many foreigners were also killed in the terror attack. Bureau Report, DD India.
The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Shankar, chaired the 18th meeting of the foreign ministers of Russia, India and China, and he highlighted a number of issues including Afghanistan, Myanmar, UN reform, the fight against terrorism. He said that Afghanistan's territory must not be used for terror activities by terrorist groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed and all these kind of groups. And he said that India has offered wheat supply to Afghanistan as a humanitarian gesture. Such assistance must be facilitated without hindrance or politicization. The RSI countries, they should coordinate respective approaches on the threats of terrorism, radicalization, drug trafficking and the like.
In line with our commitment to the well-being of Afghan people, we have offered supply of 50,000 metric tons of wheat to Afghanistan to address the drought situation. RIC countries need to work together to ensure that humanitarian assistance reaches the Afghan people without hindrance and without politicization.
The 13th Assam Summit concluded on Friday. Speaking at the retreat session, the Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu touched upon various issues of common interest, including adopting a multilateral and collaborative approach to fight COVID-19, ensuring maritime security and climate justice. The Vice President said that COVID-19 pandemic has brought out many inadequacies in the current global system, particularly in the health system and also in supply chains, and he called for a multilateral and collaborative approach to address these gaps. Describing climate action as another area of common interest, the Vice President reiterated that the road to fighting climate change is through climate justice, which requires countries to take a bigger and a longer-term picture. The government has allowed the resumption of scheduled commercial international passenger services with effect from 15th of December, and it will be in a collaborated response at the resumption of operations from countries recognized as at risk by the Ministry of Health. The latest order, it says this, and I quote: the suspension on international commercial passenger services to and from India, which came into effect on the 23rd of March 2020, has been reviewed. The competent authority has decided to resume commercial passenger services with effect from 15th December 2021. This would also imply reversion to bilaterally agreed capacity entitlements and termination of air bubble arrangements. Due to the prevailing condition of COVID-19, the capacity entitlements shall be as per the categories of countries based on enlistment of countries at risk. The UK has banned flights from South Africa after a new COVID-19 variant, B11529, has been identified. The EU, it seeks to stop air travel also from South Africa over this variant. The Czech government also has announced a 30-day COVID state of emergency in their country. Israel has banned arrivals, most of them from Africa. And, stocks have been dropping sharply across the world because of this new variant.
Many countries around in Europe and other parts of the world have tightened their travel restrictions after South African scientists announced to have detected a new COVID-19 variant in small numbers. Early signs from diagnostic laboratories suggest the variant has rapidly increased in the most populated province of Gauteng and may already be present in the country's other 8 provinces. South Africa has confirmed around 100 specimens as B11529, but the variant has also been found in Botswana and Hong Kong, with the Hong Kong case a traveler from South Africa. Scientists believe that as many as 90% of new cases in Gauteng could be B11529.
Here is now a mutation, a variant of serious concern, which is now driving this spike in numbers.
Following confirmation of new COVID-19 variant, EU Commissioner Chief Ursula von der Leyen said that the European Union aims to halt air travel from the southern African region amid rising concern about a new COVID-19 variant detected in South Africa.
We're taking the news about the new highly mutated COVID-19 variant very seriously. All air travel to these countries should be suspended. They should be suspended until we have a clear understanding about the danger posed by this new variant. And travelers returning from this region should respect strict quarantine rules.
While Britain temporarily banned flights from South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Lesotho and Eswatini from Friday and asked returning British travellers from those destinations to quarantine. Britain said it was concerned by a newly identified coronavirus variant spreading in South Africa on Thursday, the 25th of November, which might make vaccines less effective and imperil progress made across the world in fighting the pandemic.
Our scientists are deeply concerned about this variant. I'm concerned, of course, and that's one of the reasons we've taken this action today. I will say we don't know enough about this variant. No one does. I think probably the UK knows more than most because of the excellent work we do on surveillance, but I think it is right that we take this approach and we remain cautious.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said her country is well prepared for the discovery of new coronavirus variants that may be resistant to vaccines.
All of our planning around COVID, we have built into it the possibility of variants in the future. And so that is why we're maintaining levels of public health protections. It's why we've maintained requirements at our border, and it's also why we continue to have available to us what we call our alert level system.
Meanwhile, Portugal announced it would reimpose restrictions to stop a surge in cases, ordering all passengers flying into the country to show a negative test certificate on arrival. In wake of transmission of the highly mutated COVID-19 variant, Centre on Thursday asked states strictly screen and test travellers arriving from South Africa, Hong Kong and Botswana. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan, in a letter written to the Additional Chief Secretaries, Principal Secretary and Secretary Health of all states as well as Union territories, said this variant is reported to have a significantly high number of mutations and thus has serious public health implications for the country in view of recently relaxed visa restrictions and opening up of international travel. South Africa was the first country to detect the beta variant last year. South Africa has requested an urgent sitting of a World Health Organization working group on virus evolution on Friday to discuss the new variant. News Night Desk, DD India.
A gas leak in a coal mine in the Kemerovo region has killed 51 people on Thursday. The Emergencies Ministry confirmed on Friday, including 6 rescuers who were sent down to try to bring out dozens of people stuck deep underground. Emergency workers were forced to halt their rescue effort the day before due to the risk of an explosion, brought the bodies of 3 miners and 3 rescuers to the surface. The investigative committee, a body that probes serious crimes in Russia, said the detained inspectors and they issued a certificate for the mine in November but had not actually checked that facility. So the inspectors would be remanded to custody and charged soon, the statement said. 3 other people, including the director of that mine and his deputy, they were also the inspectors would be remanded to custody and charged soon. 3 other people, including the director of that mine and his deputy, were arrested on Thursday. In the Solomon Islands, a Royal Australian Air Force aircraft arrived in the capital on Friday following 3 days of violent protests in the South Pacific island nation. The Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison accepted a request from the Solomon Islands for help a day earlier, and Canberra would deploy just over 100 personnel to aid local authorities in guarding critical infrastructure. The Australian police have begun taking control of the hotspots, and this is after local authorities had struggled to prevent protesters from burning buildings and widespread looting, leaving streets strewn with rubbish in the aftermath. The government there has blamed foreign countries for stoking violent protests, but they did not name any country. In Sudan, tens of thousands protested in the streets of Khartoum and other cities, keeping up pressure on the military leaders after they struck a deal to bring back the Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok, deposed in a coup 1 month ago. Prominent political parties and Sudan's powerful protest movement, they have opposed Hamdok's decision on Sunday to sign an accord with the military with some calling it a betrayal, and they are saying that it provides political cover for the takeover. Hamdok's reinstatement was a concession by the military leader Burhan, and key political parties and civilian groups say the army should play no role in politics. Under the terms of this deal, Hamdok will lead the government of technocrats during a political transition which is expected to last until 2023 and will share power with the military. And now it's time for our daily report on the ongoing International Film Festival of India in Goa. Madata gives us the day's action.
As closing day for the 52nd edition of Iffy draws near, events at the venue in Goa continue at a hectic pace. On Friday, as India celebrated Constitution Day, senior officials and other eminent dignitaries participated in a solemn pledge taking ceremony at the venue of the 52nd edition of Iffy also. A number of industry heavyweights were seen at the festival this year participating in various events. On Friday, actress Raveena Tandon made an appearance on the inauguration of a masterclass on her OTT series Aranyak. Her appearance on the red carpet with other members of the team was greeted by a huge press and public presence eagerly waiting for a glimpse of the star.
Since the time Iffy has taken birth, it has always provided a great platform and opportunities for filmmakers across the globe. And yes, there is that infusion of youth that we will be seeing and the master classes that are being imparted onto them. I think it's a great place for learning, for absorbing, and then of course exploring what cinema has in store for us.
All in all, it was another packed day at the Iffy venue in Goa, as crowds lined up to watch the films on show and filmmakers mingled with counterparts from various countries to share thoughts and exchange ideas. Madata for DD India.
And with that, we conclude News Night for tonight. Thanks very much for being with us. Namaskar.